Welcome to Monday's Market Outlook here at Top Gun Options. I'm the Chief Option Strategist. My name is Matthew Buckley. My call sign is Whiz. And for my members, or if this is your first time watching one of my market videos, you want to talk about fake news, here's the definition of fake news. Head to our Facebook page, facebook.com/TopGunOptions, and scroll down here. As I posted, I never thought I'd be a featured article in the Huffington Post, at least in a positive way. But the Huffington Post had a great article that came out this morning about how everything I learned flying fighter aircraft, having a strategy, implementing tactics, contingency planning, debriefing, knowing when to get out of a bad or a good situation before it got worse, applied it to my trading and to my business consulting, and obviously it's worked extremely well. We're going on year 7 here at Top Gun Options, so something worked. So if you can, go swing by, check out this fake news on the Top Gun Options Facebook page from a feature article in the Huffington Post. Like I said, Matthew Buckley and Huffington Post usually aren't words that would go together in the same sentence, but I appreciate it. Great write-up on the Huffington Post. Okay. Here we go, folks. As I've told you, I have a lot of folks up in the Pentagon, a lot of people on staffs that are still telling me that I am directing fire in the right direction, meaning they're moving the cash, they're long vol, and they're buying puts on the S&P 500. But folks, I mean, this is the rally that just won't die. We'll get to what the Wall Street Journal has to say, which is a scary headline. But we have another carrier battle group. 2 of them off of North Korea. We have special forces called decapitation teams. I'm sure your imagination can figure out what exactly that means. It's not good. And this week, and one of the articles I read this morning on a Department of Defense news site was that during part of the drills, the South Korean and U.S. military drills is evacuating Americans from South Korea. They're going to be practicing that. So again, just because CNBC, which, as you all know, I call Comedy Central, just because they're talking about this guy didn't get on this board, or the president's going after drug prices today, and all sorts, doesn't mean this isn't going on. I've been on the tip of the spear. I've been on the Theodore Roosevelt. I have a couple landings on board that ship. Folks are on the tip of the spear right now, doing things and preparing. Just because it ain't news right now doesn't mean it can't be news in about 30 seconds with the market down thousands of points and the VIX up to 50, 60, 90. I was in the Board of Trade when it went through 80, folks, so it can happen. Again, you have to trade the market you have, not the one you want. The market we have, just have to be cautiously bullish now. So I'm moving my strategic mindset from market neutral. After this breakout right around here, after we rolled over, we leveled off at a cruising level here, and then rip your face off rally. I'm back to being cautiously bullish. You just have to. But the cautiously part we're going to talk about. We're going to do a joint primary live trade brief and also weekly options brief tomorrow morning at 10. I had to host the trader roundtable this afternoon at 1. So I apologize if you guys had to jump through your ass. My apologies. But look at the headlines. World stocks extend winning streak. S&P, Dow, NASDAQ are on track for all-time highs. Now here's the one that should make you laugh, or it makes a trader like me laugh. It should make you nervous. Stocks rally hits fever pitch as global markets touch fresh highs. So, folks, when you see these type of headlines, I think it was right before the financial tsunami hit in 2008. I remember sitting on the Metra from Naperville to the Board of Trade. It was like a cattle car, a death car, man. Everybody's face buried in the Wall Street Journal or sleeping. But I remember the Wall Street Journal having on the front page like a story, I think it was the front page, it said something like, here comes the retail trader. And then in a month and a half, everybody's 401k was a 201k, and they were all broke. So when you see headlines like hits fever pitch and, this market's rally is unprecedented, all those type of things, yeah, it can keep going higher just on the sheer momentum of people, money on the sidelines, thinking, hey, I'm missing something. Be very, very careful with that mentality. It's a game of musical chairs, folks. We can all run around the chairs and have fun and make money. When the music stops, it's going to be a Fred Sanford moment from Sanford and Son, and it's not going to be pretty. Looking forward to Morgan Stanley earnings tomorrow. JP Morgan swing and a miss last week with their FIC, their fixed income currency commodity, imploding there. I want to see how Morgan Stanley does. Wells Fargo, which is a bunch of criminals anyway, they sucked. But more, let me slide this over for tomorrow. More of these type of headlines. The University of Michigan survey last week. Americans have never, ever been more bullish about stocks. Again, folks, these type of headlines are the ones that really should creep you out and make you a little bit nervous here. Remember, and I'll beat this drum into the ground here, the number one buyer of the S&P 500 for the past 2.5 to 3 years has been who? It ain't China, it ain't Japan, it ain't the Fed. It's been them. The number one buyer of the S&P 500 has been the S&P 500. So when you only have so many shares, right? So you can only buy back so many shares, and or you run out of money to buy back your own shares with. Remember, folks, if you're an old, this isn't our father and mother stock market, but let me bring up an old stock market term, PE, price to earnings ratio. Buying back your own shares inflates that PE, and it's artificial. So again, with one hand, I'm bidding this market higher and buying it, and with the other, we're getting ready. We got to be protected. Told you 4 or 5 weeks ago, I beat this. We beat the media. I said, start ditching the fangs, folks. They're getting into political stuff, which they shouldn't be getting into. European regulators are starting to smack the hell out of them and demand taxes and tariffs and all sorts of stuff. We'll talk about the fangs tomorrow. What's on the flight schedule for the week? The biggest thing for me, Janet's speaking, more or less, it's not going to impact the market, but Friday night at 7:30. But look at the title. Monetary policy since the financial crisis. More or less, it's going to be a victory lap for her, right? Saying the Fed did everything right. I couldn't disagree more. She's like the Pope telling Catholics that hell didn't exist, all right? Ben Bernanke, let me pat myself on the back for saving capitalism. No, you didn't. You made the next crash, folks, is going to make 2008 look pleasant, okay? When we have this, it's not only in the markets, it's in our country. Everybody gets a trophy, right? My 2 sons play hockey. They know if they didn't win first place in a hockey tournament, second place is the first place loser, folks. You throw away that trophy, okay? So, but that's the way this market is trading, is that there's this huge Fed put underneath it, and that's not necessarily the case. Yeah. Anyway, folks, the biggest thing on my radar isn't domestically economic event. It's China. China Wednesday night, ladies' night at Blue Martini, Boca Raton, in case you're wondering. GDP numbers out of China, industrial production, fixed asset, and retail sales. In the old days, years ago, these numbers used to move our markets. I'd wait up to see how the China GDP did. I don't think it's going to move our markets that much, but it's going to be interesting to see how China's economy is doing. Remember, when you can dictate economic policy at the end of a bayonet, you usually hit your number. So they're forecasting a 6.8, a little bit of a decrease from a 6.9. So we'll see. There's a couple Fed lieutenants speaking this week. Who is it? One's a hawk, one's a Bullock, or no, Bullocks. I forget. Harker. I don't know. There's a couple Fed. In the old days, I used to care about this stuff. New market, who cares? Who cares what the Fed lieutenants have to say? We're heading higher. I don't even know if Janet's going to get an interest rate increase on the board before the end of the year. Don't forget in December, folks, Trump and Harry and Nancy, he outflanked the Republicans. Shocker. He kicked that debt ceiling fight to December. And tax reform. I think there's like 20 legislative days to get tax reform done and to raise the debt ceiling again. So, again, buckle up for some volatility. And reminder, folks, just because you don't know it's going on or Comedy Central ain't reporting on it doesn't mean Whiz doesn't know what's going on and that something might not go bump in the night. Something goes bump in the night, folks, it will be horrific. We're getting ready for our Tahoe event here in a couple weeks, and I want to be out there drinking. I think we have like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of Camus wine we got to get through. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong that nothing horrific is going to happen. Remember, folks, General MacArthur, one of our famous generals, he said, hey, the soldier of all people doesn't want war because we know the horror of what a man can do to another man. We don't want any of this. But at the end of the day, if it's going to happen, we're going to knock somebody's teeth out and they're not getting up. And it's going to be bad if it happens. Listen to Mad Dog Mattis when he says stuff like that. Like, hey, man, this would be horrific if it happens. But if it does, we're going to win. The mission objective, I read one of his memos to all DOD personnel last week. It's essentially to turn our enemy into hair, teeth, and eyeballs. You can dress us up in pretty uniforms and all that type of stuff, but at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, folks. And the market's kind of whistling past the graveyard. A VIX down here underneath 10. What are you, nuts? So I've been beating this drum. I want to be wrong about it. But look, the past, let's just go to a 6-month chart. Something has happened every month to freak the market out like a heart rate monitor, except the past month and a half going on 2 months. So you're telling me, looking 30 days out on VIX futures, that might be right. But like my sign off, like I'm about to sign off right now and say, happy hunting and make sure you hedge. That's just not a cute sign off I came up with 15 years ago. It's the truth. Happy hunting. Let's go out there. Let's be cautiously bullish. Make sure you hedge. Okay. All right, folks. I got to run. Remember to head to the Top Gun Options Facebook page and take a look at that hit piece by the Huffington Post. No, great article. All right, folks. I'll see many of my members tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you're not a member and this is the first time you're watching one of these market videos, make sure you go to our homepage, TopGunOptions.com. And if you're a skier, you should be joining us in Lake Tahoe in a couple weeks. But scroll down and take a look at our ski slope services here. For the price of a bad bottle of Pinot Grigio, you can take a 2-week test flight into one of our beginner, intermediate, or advanced options training services. Okay? All right, folks, I'll see many of my members tomorrow at 10 a.m. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and God bless.